All right, everybody, welcome out to the Log Room Guys Craft Beer Show. It is Tuesday, March the 21st, 2023. Jersey Johnny coming at you with me as always. Actually, not as always, as new in this role is Mr. Tom Mulvihill, the Beer Whisperer. How are you, sir?
How you doing, buckaroos? How the heck are you?
And just in honor of Dave not being here tonight, who's on temporary assignment, well, more on that in a little bit, he's eating. How are you eating? What are you eating?
This is the big monster cookie we picked up at a at a little Mexican bakery in Joplin. This thing's a monster, ain't it?
That's huge.
That's a huge cookie, man.
That's crazy.
So how you doing?
So, I'm doing good. How are you on this fine evening?
Not too bad. Not too bad for a rainy Tuesday here. It's really cold and drizzly here in the Ozarks.
Well, it's actually here in Jersey. It was close to 60 and sunny.
Wow.
So,
We're going to get that tomorrow, but today was just ugly.
That's great. Now, yeah, tomorrow you'll have that, and we'll have what you're having today. So, I'm sure.
So what are we drinking today?
Oh, yeah, let's do that. Before we get to drinking, also in honor of Dave, just wanted to go over this list. I don't have his list available right now, so I just pulled up a couple on online. Today is International Day of Forests. Tell me if anything stands out to you.
Right? I looked it up too because I wasn't sure if you were going to do it or not. So I got it here on mine too. I saw it was also National Crunchy Taco Day.
National Crunchy Taco Day. National Common Courtesy Day.
I like that one. That's very nice. I like it.
I like that one. World Poetry Day is today.
Yeah, I was going to do a poem with you. It starts out something like, there once was a man from Nantucket.
Okay, that sounds like a good poem to me. Later on, though, on the paper review site, we'll finish that one. And on that, along those lines, today is actually also Big Bang Day.
Oh yeah, I saw that, and I looked it up. It wasn't what I thought it meant.
Yeah, it wasn't what I thought it meant either. Apparently, the subtext under it says space nerds and science geeks gather for one of their most iconic commemorations. So there you go. Yeah, not what I thought, but in any event, on that note, I will digress, as will you.
And, I digress, man.
I'm gonna open up a beer.
All right.
You have one open already, or
I do. Yeah, I did because I hadn't had it before, and it's what I have here. Jersey Johnny is from Chaos Brewing. It's a 32-ounce crowler. We visited Joplin over the weekend. And I got a couple crowlers from them. This one is called 1515. It is billed as their double or imperial IPA. Their website has it listed at 8.3, although he wrote 7.8 on the can. But when I pour this, I'm going to say something, and you'll see what I mean here, that it doesn't look like your typical double IPA these days. It looks like a circa 1998, 99 IPA.
That's it. Oh, wow. That's that's pretty rich. That's pretty dark. That's darker.
It does look darker in there than it does in my hand. It's more of a red, but it reminds me of Grand Teton used to have this great beer. It was one of my favorites called the Pursuit of Hoppiness, which I thought was one of the greatest beer names ever.
Pursuit of Hoppiness.
It was just billed as an imperial hoppy red, and that's what this one reminds me of. It's absolutely gorgeous, but it does feel kind of like a throwback to when IPAs looked and tasted like IPAs.
Absolutely. That looks delicious. Yeah. Opposite of what you're drinking, I'm actually drinking a local brewery here. I've had it on the show a bunch. Source Brewing over here in Colts Neck, here in Jersey. It's a Japanese-style rice lager called Saku Saku.
Really? Okay, wow.
There you go. So having one of them, and here it is right here. Nice, pretty clean all the way through.
Oh wow, that looks like the style. Yeah.
There you go. Cheers.
Sláinte.
Yes, only a few days after Sláinte. Oh, that's very tasty.
So, how did you fare on St. Patrick's Day?
Pretty good actually. I'll tell you in a second. Cheers to Brian Alt. He said cheers to us, and he also said, "Wow, John is drinking Source. Imagine that." Yes. Imagine that. I'm drinking Source. So,
like me, you like to drink as local as possible too. You notice I when I do the show, I try to bring, local or local-ish beers. I notice you try to do the same thing as well.
I do try to do the same thing, unless it's specifically for a brewery we're having on, or if
Yeah.
one of us have gone on a trip and we brought back beer from wherever we were. That's a different story. But for the most part, I like to try and drink as local as possible. And occasionally, a beer like this might make it onto the show. But it's a little self-serving, right? Well, it's pretty tasty anyway. But in any event, yeah, St. Patty's Day. Wow. Had a couple meetings in the morning and early afternoon, and then good day overall. Didn't go crazy with corned beef because in Belmar, where I live in New Jersey, is always they usually kick off the St. Patty's Day parades, if you will, around the state. Right, Parade Day in Belmar, is always the first Sunday of March, so way before St. Patty's Day. Sometimes almost as much as close to 3 weeks before. If St. Patty's Day falls on a Saturday, it could be 17 days before. But in any event, or more than that. But in any event, we had the parade and we had a lot of corned beef that day. I made 3 big flats of corned beef and a bunch of veggies and Irish soda bread and the whole 9 yards. So for about 4 or 5 days afterwards, I was eating, corned beef and cabbage or corned beef on rye almost every day. So kind of got corned beefed out a little bit, but I did have a Reuben. For lunch, I went to a place nearby and they made a special. They normally don't have a Reuben on the menu, corned beef Reuben on the menu, but they made it on marble rye. It was delicious. And they only made 16 of them. They had enough. We got there right as they opened, right? And she said, "Yeah, we have 16 of them, and that's it. And when we're out, we're out." So I'm like, and there's 3 of us at the table. We all took one. Done.
Oh, bye. There you go.
Yeah. But later on, I went out and I had stopped in at a local place, a local Irish bar, and had a few pints, if you will. But I didn't have Guinness on its own. Actually, they were doing a blend of a 50-50 blend of Guinness and Smittix.
Oh, wow.
They call it a blacksmith.
Yeah.
So I had a few of those, and then got my ass home early and just sat down on the couch. I didn't want to be out too late on an amateur-ish night. So you had some festivities on Friday. You were out and about. How were you?
We did. So I had the weekend off, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I decided not to do anything at home. I didn't even buy a corned beef this year. We took off. My wife discovered wine last year, so we've been hitting some small wineries.
There you go.
There's a small winery in Eddie. Eddie was going after my cookie.
There you go.
There's a small winery in just north of Joplin called Keltoy. So it's an Irish theme winery, okay. And they were doing it. So they've done this every year for several years, called their Big Irish Luck Fest. So we went out there with the intention of only staying for maybe 2 or 3 hours. They're open from 11 to 6, and we closed them down, man. We were there from open to close, and they were doing some raffles, and I bought some raffle tickets. I ended up winning 2 of the raffles. So one of them was four cans of wine, not their wine, from somewhere else, but 4 cans of wine and 2 wine glasses. And the other one was a bottle of their wine and a T-shirt. So.
That's great. That's cool. That's cool.
I have some goodies.
I have been seeing that lately. I've been seeing cans of wine. For the most part, it's still bottles. But I have been seeing some wine getting canned. It's interesting. How did you have any of them yet?
I did try one. So it was described as a blend of red and strawberry wine, described as a semi-dry. It was pretty good, actually. It wasn't bad. It was interesting about cans. A typical wine pour is 6 ounces.
Sure.
So it's a 12-ounce can. You get 2 pours. Of course, sure. So in some ways, it's kind of handy. You don't if you're not if you don't want to drink 4 glasses, or if you don't have someone to share it with, it's not hard to go through 2 glasses of wine.
No, not at all. You can you can handle it.
You have one with your dinner, one after dinner. It's gone.
Right, exactly. We actually, Jess and I were down in Asheville in North Carolina a few weeks ago, And the one day we were down there, we went to the Belleville, right? Belleville, yeah, the Belleville, Biltmore. I'm sorry, not Belleville, Biltmore Estates. It's the Vanderbilts. Um, you know, Gloria Vanderbilt's great grandfather or grandfather or whatever it was built the whole property. It's 127,000 acres in Asheville, and this mansion is just huge. But on the we took the tour of the mansion and the grounds, and there's gardens and everything else. It's beautiful. But on the property, they have their own winery and their own vineyard. And
nice.
We did a wine tasting. We had some wine afterwards at the wine bar, and I got to tell you, I generally don't, or lately anyway, haven't drank a lot of wine. Certain meals and going out and certain restaurants to go to, especially if we go to an Italian restaurant or something, I'll have a couple glasses of wine. But generally, I haven't really had a lot of wine lately. And I got to tell you, these wines were actually so good. It made me miss having good wine. And so we brought back a few bottles, needless to say. So we'll be having some of them soon. But it was fun. So I used to love that all the time. I mean, I did used to years and years ago used to go to the Garden State Wine Growers. I mean, there's more wineries in New Jersey now than there were back at this point. It's 25 years ago, maybe somewhere in there, or even a little bit longer. Garden State Wine Growers Association used to have two festivals, one in May and one September. We used to go to them all the time, and they were fun. And all the wineries got there, and you're able to get glasses and of wine and buy bottles and go off. It was fun, and I enjoyed that. And there's a lot of good wine in Jersey too. As some people would say, wine in Jersey. No, there's actually some pretty decent wine. Jersey's a garden state, right? So why can't they grow grapes? Right? Yeah. But in any event, enough about wine. Did you hit any breweries while you were on your jaunts?
I hit two. So this one that I was telling you about, Chaos. So where we were staying near downtown Joplin. Where we were staying was only we're just shy of a mile of this brewery, so I was real close to it.
Sure.
And so I hit them. I had one on there on Friday. They got some crowlers to go home. I ended up drinking one over the weekend, and so I brought two of them back. But I also visited Beard Engine, sort of anyway. Beard Engine was also pouring beer at that wine fest I was telling you about.
Oh, nice.
So they've got kind of a good relationship between the winery and the brewery. They kind of help each other out.
It's always a good thing. Always a good thing.
So it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
That's awesome. We actually did not a lot on Saturday. But Sunday we took a ride, did a couple things, went for a hike, and we stopped. A new brewery opened up in Jersey this weekend, this past weekend. The grand opening. They had a couple soft openings, but their grand opening was St. Patrick's Day on Friday, so it was their opening weekend. So we stopped in and had a few beers. The beers were pretty solid. It's a Stratosphere Brewing, and waiting for a call back now because we had a postponement and a rebooking, rescheduling, if you will, of the show next week. So there's a possibility Jason and Chris from Stratosphere will be on the show next week. So,
right on. Very nice. Okay.
But, fortunately for them, I mean, they sold through a lot of their beer. They have a 5-barrel system. They brewed a lot of beer for the day they ran out of 2. But they have some other stuff in tanks. So it's like, it's not like they got to close while they brew more beer by any means. But the beer's pretty solid. They don't have any cans. They weren't filling growlers. Not that I brought any with me, and they weren't filling crowlers. So I couldn't bring any beer back that, if they are indeed on the show next week, have on the show with them. So, but they're not that far. About a 40-minute ride for me. I can go back whenever and get more beer. So
yeah, that's not too far.
Exactly. So this Rice Locker is pretty tasty, I gotta say.
So that'd be a summer beer, right? I mean, that's a pounder.
Yeah, it was brewed with. They hopped it. They brewed it with jasmine rice. And they hopped it with lemon drop hops and sterling hops.
So that sounds very bright.
It's got a nice lemony taste to it from the lemon drop hops, obviously. But the jasmine rice actually is really, really, really nice. Gives it a decent, soft, light body, but it's there. It's not just water, right? It's good. It's tasty.
So does it have a fragrant nose?
Oh, yeah.
Feel the rice on the nose.
Yep. You could definitely you're getting a little bit of floral from obviously from the hops and also from the jasmine as well. But
Yeah,
it's
I love
really nice.
jasmine rice. That's my favorite rice.
You ever have a beer, like have one can of the beer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you open it up and it's delicious and it's so good. And I'm not saying this is like the best thing since sliced bread, but it's pretty damn tasty. All right. But in general speaking, you have a beer that it's so good that you almost wish you didn't open it up because you don't have it anymore now. You're actually
Yeah.
It's like a catch-22, you know? Like if I drink it, I won't have it anymore. But if I don't drink it, I'm never gonna know how good it is. So what the hell's the difference? Yeah.
That's right. That's why I've never understood, craft beer drinkers. I've never understood the ticker mentality. If the beer is good, why would you not order it again? And, I've known friends that will not order the same beer throughout an entire year. I said, man, where's the fun in that?
No, absolutely not. You have to get it, and I make notes too, like myself personally. I mean, I don't have like a notebook or anything. I make some mental notes, some on tap, some on my phone. Generally speaking, if a can is given to me by somebody, gifted to me by somebody, like somebody goes out and about and they go to hit 4 breweries and they get 4 packs and they give me a mixed 4-pack of one of each of the beers, right? Then I have one beer. But generally for myself, I'm buying a 4-pack. So if I buy a 4-pack of this, I drink one, it's delicious. I have 3 others, that's fine.
That's right. Yeah.
But generally, anybody brewing a beer, in my travels, in my experience, thank you. I couldn't think of the word. In my experience, if somebody's brewing a beer that's that good, they're brewing it again. Now, it might not be until the same time next year, but they're brewing it again. So I'm getting it again the following year.
Yeah.
And if I have it, say I have it now. It just came out now. I have it now. I drink it. It's delicious. And then, a month from now, I'm in a bar, month and a half, and they have it again, right? Or they had it. Maybe they bought a 6th of it and they hadn't tapped it yet or whatever. I'm certainly going to have it then too. Not just because I already checked into it. Now I can't have it again. Yes, I can. I'm having it again. I'm having this beer again. It's that good. And then, of course, certainly, the following year when they make it, and every year. I mean, just take this brewery, for instance. Just take Source, right? They're local to me. It's about a 12-minute ride for me. And they come out. They have certain beers. I mean, they release 2-3 beers a week, new beers a week. I mean, they have a pretty aggressive schedule of releases. But I have my certain favorite beers from them. And I know the time of year that they're coming out, and I always keep an eye out. And when they come out, I go over there and I get a 4-pack. At least there's a couple of things they brew. I'll get a couple of 4-packs. But, and that goes for other breweries too. Like another beer I'm going to have is from another brewery that's only about 8 minutes away from me that I'm sure you've heard of before, Kane. I'll have another one of those.
Yeah.
And this is a beer that I get once a year because I get 1 or 2 4-packs of it. And I get it once a year whenever he brews it. So you'll see it in a minute. As soon as I finish this and have another, but you get the idea. And I'm sure you do the same thing because I definitely have seen you, you've been on the show and on your own show, having beers that you've had already. And maybe you didn't have them a month ago, you had it a year ago, but you've had it already and you enjoy it. So you're having it again.
I tend to buy whatever the beer comes in, whether a 4-pack or 6-pack. I've never been a single buyer. I don't like to buy singles for a lot of reasons. I'd rather buy a 4-pack or 6-pack. But there are certain, I have certain locals, especially that I will constantly go back to. I don't know that I call it a go-to because they're not there all the time, but whenever I'm able to, I will buy certain beers all the time. Yes.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. I don't like that. Would you call it the ticker mentality? I don't like that either. I can't have that beer. I already did. Why?
It just doesn't make. Did you like it?
Why? That was great.
I just can't make that make sense. I will tell you one thing I do. It doesn't matter what brew pub I walk into. If I'm having 4 beers, I'm having 4 different beers. Though I never have the same, or I won't say never. I rarely order the same beer in the same sitting.
I do that. I'm simpatico with you there. I absolutely do that. If I'm going to a beer bar or wherever, like for instance, on this trip on the way back, we stopped at Church Key in Washington.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean their tap list and can list. Forget about the draft. Their draft list is amazing. Their can and bottle list is even better. There's no reason to have the same beer twice, But I will throw this caveat in there. If there's a beer that's just so stupidly good, right? and it's never anywhere. Like they cornered the market when they bought this beer, like, because you can't get this beer anywhere. You could search to high heaven, you're not going to find this beer. I might, and this is even on always, but I might get it straight away and then have it as the last beer, like the first and the last beer. Like, let me get one more.
Yeah, that's why I changed my never to rarely. But that's the caveat. It's funny. I used to always go from light to heavy, right? I start with the lightest ABV first, and then go to the heaviest.
Of course, right.
But now I kind of do the opposite. I start with that big beer right away, so so the palate's fresh when it tastes all that, and then I get the lightest beer as sort of a palate cleanser. Right? If they got a Pilsner or a lager, okay, now I'm going with that, and that's my palate cleanser. Then I'll go to something else. Yeah,
I like that. That's actually there's been a few people that have said that to me lately. That I actually maybe I'll write something. I got that. I can write it together. But it's becoming more of a not an oddity. More and more people are doing it that way, like reversing it. Like, okay, I'm gonna have my Pilsner first, then I'm gonna have a Vienna Lager, then I'm gonna have a brown ale, then I'm gonna have a big beefy IPA, and then I'm gonna have a barrel aged stout and a barley wine. Right?
Yeah.
They're doing it the opposite. They're finishing with the Pilsner,
That's what I do now, yeah.
But
I want to start with that big barrel-aged monstrosity first, or that big double imperial IPA that's going to throw your palate way out of whack. I have that one first where I get all that goodness right away. It's not clouded by any other flavors or aromas. Now, the other beers are going to suffer. There's no lie, but you want to taste that one beer a specific way.
You know what we got to do? We got to brew a beer. We're going to have to Coastal. We're going to have to brew a beer that is specifically a palate cleanser, right? And we'll call it like Intermezzo.
There you go. That's perfect. Yeah.
And I think there's a couple of beers out there. I think Carton actually brewed an Intermezzo once, but it wasn't specifically meant for that, right? But do it for that purpose, right? It's a good solid beer, but it's a palate cleanser. It's it can like wash all that goodness from that last beer away. All right, palate's ready for the next one.
Now I'm ready. Yeah,
I like that. There you go. I'll have to work on that.
You'll have about an ounce left in that beer that you can actually taste once you got your palate clear.
Right. And then you can move on to the next thing.
Now you're ready again. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not one of those folks that does water in between beer because I don't want that extra liquid. I know folks that will order a beer and a water simultaneously, and I don't do that.
I don't. I generally don't, although there's somebody who shall remain downstairs. Constantly, he's like, drink water with your beer, drink water with your beer, drink water with your beer. Don't get dehydrated, blah, 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 blah. So I get a water, and I like certain people drink like a glass or two of water for every beer they drink. That's just
yeah.
I'll have one glass of water throughout all of my beer. Like, what I mean? So it's a sip here, a sip here, a sip here. Throughout, if I'm having 5 beers, I have one glass of water. If I'm having 7 beers, I have one glass of water. If I have 3 beers, it's one glass of water regardless. So
my dad used to say about water, he said, fish fucking it, women douching it. I can't drink it.
There you go.
Every time I'm pouring some whiskey or a beer, I say, women douching it, fish fucking it. I'm not drinking it.
I'm not drinking that. I got to remember that. I actually like that. So take my obligatory picture here, and I'll show you my second beer that I'm drinking. I know you're in a 32-ounce crowler, so
yes, that's why I did open it first so I could pour it and take a picture and did a quick video with it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. My second beer is from Brick City, which we did a collab with back in October called Turning of the Tide. It was a double IPA. But this is called Lager Rhythm.
Oh, nice. All right.
I like that name. It's like, unfortunately, I actually was writing some beer names down, in like a beer catalog kind of thing. And I actually wrote maybe about 2-3 months ago, I wrote this down. And like a couple weeks later, Brick City came out with Lager Rhythm. Oh, well, never mind.
Somebody's stealing your notes, man. You got to spy. You got to spy. Yeah.
There's a mole somewhere on my phone, right? So, no, they're great guys over there. We love them. Look, as well as I do, this entire industry, it's unlike any other. It's, everybody is super, super family, right? You got your couple outliers, but up. We actually have somebody watching. Jessica just said, more water. Hope you have a glass of water. Well, if you didn't bring it up, I don't have a glass of water. So so there you go. But yeah, so and in Jersey it's even more so. Like we're all one big family here in Jersey, and these guys are at the tops too, with everything. So the guys at Bricks, yeah, it's not even like that, would never ask, would never do that to them. Number one, we'd never do that to them and like brew a beer called Logarithm. But on the flip side of that, if we did, they wouldn't care. That's what it's like,
That's good.
So let me taste this Logarithm. It's a Pilsner. It's a what you call a Continental Pilsner. It's billed as
Continental Pilsner. Okay,
4.6%. Yeah, Continental Pilsner. So let's try this out.
More of a German or Czech style, then.
Oh, that's tasty. Yeah. A little bit of malt coming through, a little bit of malt sweetness. Yeah, it's not quite a Helles. I'd say more along the lines of a Czech.
Closer to a Czech. Okay.
Closer to a Czech. Yeah, it's really tasty. I'm enjoying it. So nice. There you go. Well, there you go. There's that, and then my third beer will be a little bit bigger. That's the one from Kane that I was talking about.
Oh yeah, outstanding.
So, all right, I got a couple questions for you.
All right,
while we continue to drink these beers, couple things I was reading up on, a couple articles came across, my phone, my news feed, whatever you want to call it. Old beer on shelves. There's a lot of beer out there now. Okay, I see it here in Jersey. I'm sure it's everywhere. I'm sure you see it out there too, and I'm talking about in craft beer stores, like can stores, package stores. There's a lot of beer. In general, there's a lot of beer out there, but specifically in package stores getting it. And the pandemic had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
It really did, because a lot of breweries, obviously, they weren't having their taproom sales. So they canned a lot more beer than they kegged. And it went out to, more stores in the state and other states. I mean, I could rattle off a dozen breweries from other states that are in Jersey right now that if it weren't for the pandemic, they would not be in Jersey right now.
Yeah.
And while I love the fact that they are, because we can get their beer in Jersey, it's shelf space, right? I mean, there's a limited amount of shelf space in New Jersey, and everywhere there's a limited amount of shelf space. And it's something that, has been, and I hate to use this word because of what we've been referring to, but it's something that's been plaguing the craft beer industry, or not just in Jersey, everywhere. Right, shelf space is at a premium. So, one thing that has come up is that there's a lot of old beer on shelves because a lot of these places have brought in, a lot of other beers, and some beer sits around. Now, of course, your IPAs, right? The IPAs, I got to be honest, a lot of good breweries. Now, rule of thumb, IPA 3 months, goodbye, right? Drink it in 90 days. Or get it out of here, right? That's the rule of thumb, right? And I got to be honest, I've actually had probably in the last 6 months or so, just specifically for like research purposes, I've sat on some, like if I buy a 4-pack of somebody's IPA, right? I'll drink 3 of them. I'll leave one, and I don't leave it warm. Obviously, I leave it in my fridge. I leave it in my beer fridge, and I leave it sit there for longer than I should, right? Specifically just to see. And I've had 6-month-old, 7-8-month-old New England IPAs.
Yeah.
I would say, honestly, 80+% of them have been, I have no DO. There's no, the hops really didn't fade. They're well brewed IPAs. So, and I want to actually write something on this too, and I want to get it out there. I want to start some sort of an interaction. There's there's a lot, as the craft beer industry has exploded as it has over the last, let's even say 10 years. It's been longer than that, but let's just say the last 10 years, it's really, really taken off. So has the quality of the brewing. Okay. But I mean, by far, there's a lot more really, really well brewed beer out there. So, and I'm not going to sit here and say that we're not, there's not a couple of IPAs that I did have in the last 6-8 months doing that were, this one's starting to turn. Maybe I should have had it 2 months ago, but definitely, there's a quality to a lot of these, especially New England IPAs. Certainly your West Coast IPAs, the hops are going to fade. That's just the nature of the beer. But let me get off that. The reason for my question to you is, IPAs aside, there's a lot of people complaining about old beer on shelves. As far as I'm concerned, if it's not an IPA, it's better. Isn't it? I mean.
Oh, yeah. So here's the thing: a lower ABV beer, your Pilsner, for instance, it probably isn't going to go bad in a year's time.
No.
It just isn't going to improve any.
Right.
Your beers that are going to improve are your high ABV, your big barrel aged, whatever is your barley wine.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you find a one that's been tucked back on a shelf for 5 years, yeah, I'd reach back and grab it.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of that stuff, yeah, I think folks have kind of gone crazy about dates lately. Folks, I've known people that will actually throw beer away that they've already paid for because it's past 90 days without even tasting it. And I can't make that make sense.
It doesn't make sense at all.
If you paid for it, however, I know you sell beer or sold beer, and I've sold beer. The liquor stores or whatever tend to get the blame for old product. However, I'm going to lay the blame right on the sales rep, because it's our job to take that beer off the shelf if it isn't selling.
Mm-hmm. No, agreed 100%. And I agree what you said too. Like any lagers, Pilsner, Vienna lager, Helles lager, Czech lager, any of those lagers, lower ABVs, anything, 5+% and under. It's not going to get better, but it's not going to get bad. It's not going to go lager. The word lager itself means age, means sit, means rest, right?
So what's going to kill that beer is constant temp change or direct sunlight. And I guess there are some studies that may say the fluorescent lights may or may not affect them. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing: if that beer's been in the cooler, I'm not talking about what's on the shelf. That could be different. But anything that's been in the cooler, right, yeah. Anything that's been in the cooler is going to be fine. Don't sweat. Don't look at that born on date. That means absolutely nothing.
IPAs, fine. You want to. For your mind, if you want to draw a 90-day, and like I said, lately, you can extend that to 120, even 150 days.
Yeah, and again, it kind of depends on the style, right? I mean, the hazies, the juicies, New England style, they tend to have a shorter shelf life because of the intense dry hopping.
Right.
But if you're talking about, especially about an IPA that I'm drinking right here, I mean, a beer like this, the big malt, big hops, no. I mean, in a crowler, no, I wouldn't keep a crowler for a year.
No, of course not.
But if this was in a bottle, I wouldn't be afraid to age this a year.
No, absolutely. No, and I'm actually jealous of that beer right now because of the way that beer looks. If we had smell-o-vision, I just want to stick my nose in that glass right now.
I got to tell you, it's absolutely insane and just incredibly intense. It's just that big, like I said, it's that big throwback in your face beer. I mean, it hits the nose, it hits the palate. I mean, it's just gorgeous.
I'm loving this. I'm loving the color of that beer, though. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it's got this deep. I don't know if it translates to the screen, but in my hand, it's got this just big, deep red.
I can see it. No, I can see it. The deep amber red.
Big ruby hue.
A couple extra deeps in there.
It just reminds me of that beer, Pursuit of Happiness, that I was telling you about. It just brings back that memory of that beer.
What's the ABV on that? You said they wrote 7.8, but it's really 8.3 or something like that?
So the 7.8 on the can, but their website says 8.3. So 7.8 is probably accurate because it was just poured in the tap room.
8.3 was probably on the website. 8.3 was probably the original, the first time they brewed it, the first couple times they brewed it, but this gravity went, and they actually were, a lot of breweries won't do that. A lot of breweries will say, if the gravity comes in lower and it's 7.8, they'll still call it 8.3 because that's what the beer's supposed to be, right? But the actual, that's good. Like
Saddlebach was funny because in the brewery, in the brewery house, they had a board of all the styles they were brewing and the ABVs, and it was all written up there. Then in the tap room, they had a big board with all the styles and the ABVs, and then you had the website. And almost every beer style, every time there'd be 3 different numbers up there. So I'd always go straight to the brewer. I said, okay, Blaine, exactly what is the number on this beer? And he would say, Tom, it's this. Don't pay attention to that. I'm telling you what the beer is. But I don't know what I don't know if it's the law. I know the law in Arkansas was you had a 0.5, or was at the time anyway, you had about a 0.5 leeway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you 0.5, 1%, either direction. So if it's supposed to be 8.3 and it comes in 8.2,
Yeah.
0.2, it's 8.3, or whatever you want to call it. That's fine. But yeah, that big of a difference from 8.3 to 7.8, that's it's a 0.5%.
You got that 0.5, yeah.
Yeah. But
anyway, but it is good though. I'm guessing because the guy in the tap room poured the beer and wrote the label. I'm guessing 7.8 is probably accurate.
I'm sure it is. Just really tasty. All right. Let's move on to another thing. Oh, by the way, just to wrap that up, we're in complete agreement that, and there's, I just wanted to bring this up before you mentioned, if you see a bottle that's been like shoved away in the back of a shelf and it's 5 years old or whatever, absolutely reach back and grab that. Don't do that. And there's a lot of, do your research. There's a lot of craft beer stores out there, and no offense to them, and not that you want to take advantage by any means, obviously, but a lot of them don't know what they have. They'll have, a 2 or 3 year old bottle that they're trying to get rid of, and they'll have it on clearance for like half price. Give me all of them.
Yeah.
I will take,
See, I've actually done that before with some places. Yeah. My problem is, you know me well enough to know I can't, I just say everything. So I will typically be honest with them and tell them, realize what you do. Tom, we just want it gone. Okay, I'll take it all.
Yep. I'm the same way. I'm not going to sit there and not tell them. Of course I'm going to tell them. But yeah, there's one, I just wanted to bring this up. We've said it before a couple times on the show a while back. I don't think we've said it for a while. There's a store called Cable Beverage. It's in Bardonia, New York. It's just northeast of Nanuet, off the thruway there, in Rockland County. It's called Cable Beverage. It's in the back of a building, and they have, there's no real rhyme or reason to a lot of their shelves. You really need to go there with an hour to spend, right? And just look through all of their bottles, because there's going to be stuff behind it. There's absolutely everywhere you look, there's going to be 2 or 3 bottles back. There's going to be a different bottle. It's more than likely it's in at least the same style, right? But it's a different bottle, and it's older, and obviously a lot of the older stuff's going to be towards the back, and the pricing is ridiculously good. Just go there and enjoy. Go there with 100 or something to spend, and a half an hour, 45 minutes to spend, and go there and find yourself some good finds. That's the place to go. But anyway, moving on, I wanted to ask you this: beer fests.
Uh-huh.
All right. What's the state, in your mind? All right. And I'll cross over to something Dave and I spoke about last week on the show, but what's the state in your mind of beer fest? How they used to be, and I brought this up because I had this conversation the other day with somebody. Years ago, beer fests were, granted, obviously plenty of craft beer enthusiasts, if you will, went there, and certainly a lot of people that weren't craft beer enthusiasts, that were drunk enthusiasts, right?
Yeah,
went to a craft beer fest and just wanted to get hammered, right? And that's always been the case, and that's fine. But for the most part, not for the most part, for a good amount part, there were a lot of reps that bought beer, buyers in bars or stores or whatever, went and tasted a lot of beer. They were able to go there. They got maybe they got comped, whatever, to go there, and they tasted a lot of beer, and they can make their notes. I'm going to bring this in. I'm going to bring this in. Blah 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 blah, and so forth and so on. What's the take? I know it is in Jersey, but I'm just curious what it is in Missouri. Are they still as viable? Is it still like as good a thing as it was? Are they still like exploding? Are there still a lot of beer fests in Missouri and around Springfield and everywhere else? or is it starting to fade a little bit?
There's usually 2 or 3 different ones now, depending on the distributors, that sort of thing. But yeah, the promoters, they do a couple, 3 different ones, and a lot of it kind of depends. You kind of mentioned the first initial beer fest that I went to here in the early '90s, early to mid '90s. I mean, they were basically a drunk fest because there wasn't really a whole lot of craft beer at the time.
Right.
So I mean, most of the beer you were drinking was, AB or something. It was just all the products that they sold. So with a handful of the pseudo crafts that were out at the time, and a lot of them weren't even crafts. So, you had the various Michelob line and all of that stuff. So they were more of a drunk fest. I would like to say that now they've kind of morphed into more of a craft beer gathering because a lot of it is because of the price, right? They used to be rather affordable. So even if you weren't into a lot of the styles, you could certainly get enough. But right now, in this neck of the woods anyway, the beer fest tend to get a little pricey, even for the regular ticket. So it kind of weeds out the AB InBev drinkers. They're not likely buying a ticket anymore, and years ago that they would.
Right. Agreed. And in Jersey, coming up in the first weekend in June, so not too far away actually. We're a week and a half, not even. A week or so away from April, but
so we've got one April 1st, actually, right here in Springfield, April 1st. Typically, it was always held in the fall. We always have one about October, November, that neck of the woods. But now they're starting to come up with some earlier, and there's usually one done in the summer too. So, but yeah, this first Ozarks Beer Bash is April 1st.
Nice. Ozarks Beer Bash, April 1st. Nice.
Beer Fest, yeah. Ozarks Beer Fest, yeah, April 1st.
I'll try and get out there. I wouldn't mind it, actually. But what I was going to say is June, the first weekend in June, this year it's June 3rd and 4th, it's Saturday and Sunday, the Atlantic City Beer and Music Festival. All right. And it's the second biggest size-wise, attendance-wise.
Mm-hmm.
It's the second biggest beer fest for the most part in the United States, behind GABF, but Great American Beer Fest. But what John Henderson runs it. It's not just a beer fest; it's a beer and music festival. He'll have other bands, but he'll have 2 headliners, one each day. And this year, he has on Saturday he has the Dropkick Murphys.
Oh, no kidding! Oh my goodness! Oh, I wish I was there for that.
Yeah. And on Sunday, he has 311, the band 311. Okay. All right. So, it's not like he brings in, and I'm not, and by no means am I putting Dropkick Murphys at 311 down by any means, but I'm not, he doesn't bring in, I'm too old to bring in it's not bringing Rihanna and, Jay-Z in, right? He's bringing these other bands, but this is a coup. This is a really good weekend. These are 2 of the best bands. He's brought in a lot of good bands over the years. Mighty Mighty Bosstones. He had Rusted Root. He's had a bunch of.
Wow.
He's had a bunch of really good acts, but bands in. But this, and not in the same year either. This year, with Dropkick Murphys and 311, this is a really good year for him. But in any event, his ticket's $70. Now, granted, it's not a $20 ticket or a $25, $30 ticket. It's $70, but you got 4 hours of the biggest attended beer fest, second biggest attended beer fest in the country, and a really, higher name musical act to go with it. So I think that's a pretty decently affordable ticket.
I would definitely buy that ticket if I was in that neck of the woods. No doubt about it. I would love to see the Murphys.
So, we got to I'll tell you something afterwards. Remind me. I'll tell you. Just say Dropkick Murphys when we're done with the show, and I'll tell you something. Right. Interesting. It's fun, but I would too. Absolutely, and I'm so glad that we'll be there. We'll be there pouring beer, so we'll be there.
Nice, very nice.
probably won't be able to go over and watch all of both shows because we'll be busy at the booth, but we'll be there, catch a little bit of it. So it'll be fun. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that. The reason I asked you that and I brought it up, what we were talking about, what Dave and I were talking about last week, was tap takeovers. And I'll just, we talked about this on the show last week, but I just want your opinion on it. What we were talking about and I brought up was tap takeovers, 10, 12 years ago were great for specific breweries, right? If you did it one brewery, a 12, 15, 18 beer tap takeover or whatever, that was great because, maybe people couldn't get to your brewery, or maybe you're out of state or whatever, right? And that was fine. Nowadays, if you want to do a 12 line, 15, 18, 24 even line tap takeover of, 15, 18, 24 different breweries, like a New Jersey tap takeover in or 24 different New Jersey beers, New Jersey breweries, or in Missouri, like in Springfield, a bar with 24 taps does a 24 line Missouri tap takeover. That's absolutely with that, right? But I think gone are the days, this is my opinion. I think gone are the days of, a single brewery in state or out of state, either or, one brewery doing multiple lines like that, like more than like 3 or 4 or 5, like a 12, 18, 24 line tap takeover. There's so much good liquid out there. And there's so many good local breweries that somebody that's going to want to do that isn't going to want to sit at that bar. They're going to want to go out and they're going to want to go, brewery visiting, right? They're going to want to hit 2 or 3 or 4 breweries in a day. And they're going to want to, in a different area of the state that they haven't been to, take a ride, obviously have a designated driver. We're going to go there, right? Or Lyft or whatever. But in any event, go visit them. They're not going to want to sit there for that one brewery's beer and sit there and have 24 different beers from that one brewery. That's my take. So I was just curious what your thoughts were on that.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, because the state of craft beer is different now, right? I mean, there were times when a lot of younger craft breweries, for instance, you need to get your name out there right away, and there was a lot of places that wanted to have your beer, so folks would go out there. But right now, people want to, if you want to try 6 Mother's beer, you're not going to go to X Bar to have them. You're going to go to Mother's Brewing.
Right.
You're going to go to Springfield Brewing to have those beers. The only possible exception I would say to that rule would be some of the smaller craft breweries that I have in town, like Show Me or Banter. The people that love those breweries are going to go there, but a lot of folks aren't familiar with it because they are smaller breweries that don't distribute. So if a brewery like that, was at a big bar in town and had maybe even 5 or 6 taps, I think that can help for name recognition.
Right.
But I don't think you're ever going to know if you're talking 10, 12 taps now. I don't see it.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I agree 100%. It's and we were talking about it last week on the show, and we had a couple of people write into it's the same thing. We're all like-minded.
Yeah.
And there are a few of them out there, and granted, there are the exceptions, and I'll throw this out there. I'll throw another caveat like we talked about earlier out there. If it's a craft beer bar that's just so well visited for the bar itself, it's a very busy, very beloved craft beer bar, right? In that respect, it kind of almost doesn't matter what they tap. Sure, they're going to lose a little bit of money on a line, because years ago I was in the bar business. If you have a delicious beer on tap, but it's going to take you 3 weeks to kick that sixtel,
yeah,
right? You could kick 4 or 5 sixtels on that line in that time. You gotta weigh the pros and cons about tapping that beer. So, but a bar that's well visited, all right, it's always busy. Something that it's they never have slow days. It's always busy, right? They can kind of do what they want. If they want to have an 18 line single brewery tap takeover, have at it. Because they're gonna be so busy that they may lose a little money, but if that's what they want to do, have at it. They're gonna make their money. So that's the only caveat. Other than that, I would say, yeah, if you're gonna do something, do local breweries, do your state's breweries. You want to you have 24 taps, and you want to do a 24 tap takeover. Don't do one bar. Don't do one brewery. Do your state.
Yeah.
Or do tri-state. I mean, come up with the idea though, but don't have one brewery's beer. Spread it around a little bit. Anyway, that's just my thought.
You used to, I don't, and it may be different in your neck of the woods, but there used to be bars that had, not just 10 lines, 24 lines, 48 lines. I mean, you used to see bars with 99 lines. I mean,
oh yeah,
I'm not seeing that kind of thing anymore. So,
no.
I mean, if you're running 100 taps, giving away 12 taps to one brewery for a weekend, you're not going to lose any money, no, and you're likely going to sell through most of that beer if you do it right.
Agreed, 100%. Agreed, 100%.
But if you're running, even if you're running say 25 taps, you're still not going to want to give up half your taps.
No, you don't really want to do that. You want to do that. You want to pull in the reins a little bit on something like that.
I don't know that helps the brewery as much either as it once did.
It really doesn't. Going to the brewery helps the brewery. And what does help the brewery is a 3 or 4 or 5 line tap takeover. Granted, a bar that has 48 lines and you're going to bring 4 or 5 beers, you're not really taking over the taps, but
no,
it's what it is. It's the name behind it, right? So it's a tap takeover, right? So you're taking over 4 or 5 of the taps, but going to the brewery, bringing the brewery though, not just the beer. What's going to help the brewery is show up, have the owners, have the brewers, have some reps, show up at the event, bring some swag, and be there and talk to the people that are showing up about the beer. And engage with them or whatever. And maybe it's a few people that haven't been to your brewery. Maybe it's a bunch of people that haven't been to your brewery. And just engaging with you and talking to you, it's gonna change their mind. And we're gonna make, you know what? I'm gonna take a ride. I'm gonna go down there. I'm gonna have some of their beer and maybe hit a couple of the breweries while I'm there too. So I mean that I think is what's more important now. Don't look for the big hit because you want to sell 12 sixtels to somebody. 3, 4, show up. Bring yourselves, and engage with the people that are there too. Don't just show up and sit at the bar and have your own beer and let walk around, talk to people.
Well, I think that's the problem, right? I think there's a lot of brewery owners that don't understand that. They think it's just enough for them to own the brewery. Craft beer drinkers are different, man. We want to talk to the head brewer. We want to talk to the brewery owner, and the brewery owners need the most successful craft breweries are the ones where the owners are engaged with their customers. They know who's coming in on a regular business.
Absolutely.
Or on a regular basis, I mean to say. But yeah, I mean they know.
Yeah, it that makes sense. That's where they need to key on. If you want to, get a bar, partner with a bar, say, hey, look, bring in 3 or 4 of my beers. We'll come up there. We'll bring our crew with us.
Yeah.
Bring some swag with the people and we'll talk around and we'll engage with them. We'll have a fun night. That's a fun thing. So, and I enjoy doing that as well. You know me, I like to talk. So
yeah, me too. So I love doing those. So the brewery owner that I worked for didn't really like that sort of thing. He didn't like doing the festivals. He was in the brewery tap room often, but he wasn't always engaging. And I loved doing the festivals. And there was there's 2 of us sales guys. And he came from more of a macro background, so he liked to sell, but he didn't like to do the tastings or the festivals. So I did all of them, and I love doing those things.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. No, that's where I, and a few others of us, that I worked with, we shined, right? We were at all the festivals, we were at all the events. And we enjoyed it, just engaging with the people and having a blast while doing it. That was what we wanted to do, and it helped. It worked. I mean, there were a lot of people that were happy to talk to us, about the beer, and the brewery and the history of the brewery and other things about the brewery, not just the beer. The owners. Of course, we always try to get the owner out. And one brewery I worked for years ago, the owner was a ham too. He was a good guy, and he definitely came out when he could. He came out, and everybody loved him. He was a good guy. But for the most part, you get everybody out, and everybody has their own purview, as it were.
Yeah.
And if you can engage, if you can harness that in everybody and make it work for the right, situations, it's going to work for you. So.
And I will say, most people around here are good at it. And I think, from what you said earlier, it's the same way in your neck of the woods. But always talk positive about everybody's beer. When you've got folks, when you're at a booth and they're having your beer, they're asking you about somebody else. Never say anything negative about somebody else's beer.
You never want to do that. We are this community. Anybody listening out there, whether you're watching the show, you're rewatching the show on Facebook or YouTube, or you're listening to it on one of the audio outlets, after the fact. This community, with the exception of a few outliers, I'm going to call it what it is. There's a couple of people that are outliers, but very, very, very few, small, minute percentage, probably less than 1%, if not 1% or around there. For the most part, this industry is one big family. I can walk in. I pride myself on the fact that I can walk into breweries around the country, and when I walk in, the owner's going to say, "Hey, John, what's up?" And then come on over. And that's what we are. That's what this is. We all are for each other. We want everybody. We want not just us. Of course, we want to succeed. We want to increase our sales and so forth and so on, and our distribution. But we want everybody else to too. We don't want to do it at the detriment of somebody else. We don't want to ever do something. At least I feel that way. I don't want to ever increase my business while putting somebody out of business. I'm not for that at all. 100%. And that's, for the most part, everybody's the same way. We're one big family. I say this all the time. It's co-opetition. It's not competition. It's co-opetition. So, and that's what this industry is. It's an industry unlike any other. Like, I mentioned, if a pizzeria has been in business for however many years on one side of the street, and on the other side of the street, like directly across the street, another pizzeria is going to come in. That's going to piss off the pizzeria. And rightfully so, because they are to a point going to take some business away from them. I understand that. But in this industry, craft beer, you want another brewery to open right across the street from you, because it's not just the local people coming into your brewery. It's the people that are out of the area coming to your brewery.
Whatever brings more traffic to your area is what you want.
Absolutely. If you want, you don't want to be the one brewery in a 50-mile radius. You don't want to do that. You don't want to be that guy.
I mean, if I'm traveling and I'm driving down the street and I see a brewery here and a brewery here, I'm saying to my wife, we're going to stop and I'm going to have a beer here and I'm going to go across the street and have a beer.
Yep, exactly.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's exactly right.
That's what you want. You want the brewery to open up not only across the street, but down the block and around the other corner. That's what you want. Because then you're a destination. And it's not just local, and it's not just a little bit outside local. It's people will travel for breweries.
Absolutely, yes.
Beer tourism is a huge thing. People will plan vacations around where breweries are. Why do you think Asheville, North Carolina, and I was just there, so I'm bringing that up and using that as an example. Why do you think Asheville, North Carolina is so hugely popular when it comes to craft beer? Because there's so many breweries right next to each other. Everybody's going there. That's what you want.
That's exactly right, yeah.
I just opened up my third beer. It's Kane Brewing. About 8 minutes away. It's Winter Daydream. All right.
Daydream.
It's a winter bock. It's 7.5%, 7.4%. Winter bock. So it's a big bock. But here, I'll just. That's a big dock.
Nice
big dock. It's really, really, it's really tasty.
Well, I poured the last of mine in here as well.
There you go. So a little bit of nuttiness. Beef, the malty, a little bit like slight roast, but sweet roast. But in a bock, so to speak, a doppelbock. It's more of a double bock, not a doppelbock. Doppelbock, kind of leans to, flavors of, bubble gum and clove and banana. This is not a doppelbock. It's more of a double bock. If you ever had Sam Adams double bock?
Yeah.
That was a great beer. This is more like that. This is more along the lines of a double bock.
Well,
So,
not,
yeah, in the sense of the term doppelbock, sure, doppel is double, right? But
yeah.
it's not, the yeast is different, right?
I wasn't going to argue with it, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It kind of depends, yeah.
It's the yeast. When you say doppelbock, you think of the strain of yeast that you use in a
Yeah,
doppelbock. You think of that bubble gum and banana and everything else. That's not this. It's more of that doppelbock. It's more of less of that bubblegum sweetness. It's more nutty. It's really tasty. So anyway, there you go. That's my third beer.
Outstanding.
Yeah, just picked it up. I was over there I actually stopped there on St. Patrick's Day. After lunch, after the couple meetings, stopped there before I went down to the Irish bar. We were literally around the corner from the place. I'm like, yeah, we got to stop by there. They have a new tap room there. For years. They've been open this August. Kane will be 12 years old. Kane and Carton Brewing, both of them opened in August of 2011.
Oh,
so
wow.
August will be open 12 years. But for the whole time they were open, Kane anyway. Carton actually has changed up a few things too, but specifically speaking about Kane, they had their tap room in their production space. So their indoor tap room was only open Saturday and Sunday because during the week, they needed the production space for production, right? The bar was there, but there was stuff going on. They were busy, bustling around, so they didn't have the tap room open. Now they have they have another tap room. They bought some more area of another part of the building, expanded into it, I should say. And now they have hours all week. So there you go.
I know 2011, 2012, those were big years for craft breweries across the country. I know.
Sure.
That big St. Louis boom. Most of that happened in 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
You just had so many popping up at that same time across the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Mother's opened up here.
Mother's opened up 2011, 2012, yeah?
No, a little before that, but it was right around that neck of the woods, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, you're right. There was a lot right around there, and then it just exploded after that, right? Which is a beautiful thing. There's so much, and like I said before, there's so much good liquid out there. Go and look.
Yeah.
For the most part, a lot of the breweries, for the most part, this isn't always the case, but for the most part, a lot of the breweries that are opening up now, and I'm just speaking about New Jersey or Missouri, anywhere really, they're head brewers or lead brewers from other breweries that are opening up their own ventures. So it's not,
you've seen a lot of that, yeah.
And you're going to get good beer right out of the gate. So seek it out, go for it, check it out. And if you find something interesting that just opened, let us know. Write into the Log Room guys, right into the Beer Whisperer, right into Beer Whisperer and Friends on Facebook, right into both of us. We'll all talk about it. Should definitely do that.
Yeah, we had two very good breweries open up last year. Both have been open just a little over a year. We had Wire Road and Banter. Both are really doing some great beer. But both are, they're smaller breweries, and I don't believe either are distributing at the moment. So you actually got to go to that brewery to get the beer,
which is a beautiful thing too. A lot of the breweries that'll open it up, they're opening up with smaller systems. They're opening up with, for instance, quick aside. One brewery is at One World Brewing in Asheville. Went there, beer was delicious. Sitting there talking to the I believe he was the taproom manager. Don't quote me on that, but I believe it was the taproom manager. But regardless, I forgot his name, so it doesn't matter whether you quote me on it or not. But he was telling me they just upgraded to a 10-barrel system. They've been open 8 years. For 8 years, they were working on a 1-barrel system.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
8 years they were brewing beer on a 1-barrel system, and the beer was spot on. The beer was delicious. So, their brewers had to be cranking and cranking and cranking. A small tap room, but it's in Asheville, right? So, granted, if you're a small tap room with another one or two breweries around, that's one thing. If you're a small tap room with 30 other breweries around you, you better be cranking out some beer. But they were cranking out really tasty beer. They just upgraded to I believe he said a 10-barrel system. So after 8 years. So, but my point in saying that was there's a lot of smaller breweries out there they're brewing on small systems, 1, 2, 3-barrel systems or whatever. So they're putting out really small batches of beer. So there's not a lot of beer, left over after the taproom sales for distro.
Yeah.
Maybe they know a bar here and a bar there that they're getting a small a sixtel or a keg or something. But for the most part, that beer's just available in the brewery. So you got to get out. You got to go and visit these places, like Tom said, and check them all out. It's the thing to do. You're missing out if you don't. You agree?
Well, if you've got a brewery using a one barrel system, for instance, if they've got a keg to sell a restaurant in town, they're selling that keg to get their name out there because they're not making any money on that keg.
Absolutely.
They're making money on that keg in their tap room. That's the only place that keg is making any money, because the price they have to sell that restaurant that keg, they're just breaking even.
Right. Yeah, they're not making any money on that.
They just want you to see their name in that restaurant, and hopefully you'll get to their tap room after you have that beer.
Right. It's twofold, right? It's to get the beer in front of somebody.
The little name recognition.
And also it could be somebody that they're friendly with, right?
Yeah. Yes.
They go there all the time. Hey, I really, really, really want a keg of your beer. It's delicious. I go there all the time. I have this bar, 3 miles away. I can point people to your brewery. For that, it's worth it to send them 1/6 of a beer that they brew. That's fine.
Yeah. Because you're getting your name out there, but it's also creating goodwill, right?
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I was taking a sip.
All right. but yeah, you get that name recognition, that helps. But again, any bridge you can build between yourself and other establishments that does you all good.
Absolutely. You got name recognition, building goodwill. There's a lot of reasons for that. But point being, to Tom's point, get out and get out and take a ride, research it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go to these breweries and get hammered. You can go to have 1 or 2 beers and taste or have a flight or two. You have 2 flights, that's 2 beers. Enjoy it. Go out there. Find these breweries that are not getting their beer out because they have such small systems, but you're going to enjoy it. You're going to have a great experience, and an experience, in the right setting. And I'm not saying there, might not be an issue here, an issue there. And hopefully that's not the case when you go out there, but get out there and visit these breweries. Get out there and visit these small breweries. They depend on you doing it, and they depend on people like you at doing it, I should say. And research. You're going to have a good time. You're going to find great beer. You're going to find great people, and not just the brewery owners. You're going to find great people sitting there too. You're going to have conversations with people. I can personally tell you that there's several friends of mine that if I didn't visit a brewery one day and meet them, I wouldn't be friends with them. I wouldn't know them. I mean, maybe I would, but for the most part, specifically the way I met them, I wouldn't have met them.
Yep, absolutely, yeah.
So, but quick thing. I want to switch it up a little bit. I'm drinking a bigger beer. You've been drinking a bigger beer. Let's talk about cocktails.
Okay. We like to talk about cocktails.
We love to talk about cocktails. All right. I want to switch it out of beer just for a moment. Not long. I want to bring that up because there were a few bourbons I had, and then you and I were talking while I was in Nashville, and there was one distillery I was at, and the name of the distillery was Eda Rhine. EDA and then RHYNE, Eda Rhine. And there was a couple of really good bourbons I had there, but I bought a bottle of their black walnut liqueur.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All right. And anybody that has been paying attention to this show on a regular basis knows that, several years ago, I told Tom about black walnut bitters on the show, and now he uses it all the time. And it's one of the things I use all the time. But I saw this black walnut liqueur. I'm like, I need to get this. All right. I want to show the bottle. Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Eda Rhine, rustic nocino. Rustic nocino is what they called it. So it's black walnut. It's a black walnut liqueur. You see right there, black walnut liqueur. I just want to show right there. See, I haven't opened it yet. I have not opened this yet. I want to open this the first time on a show with you on a Friday night, if you will. And
awesome.
All right. So I'm saving that to do on a Friday night show with you. So on your end of things. And also we have to schedule because Dave's been up my keister about it too. We have to schedule our port show.
Yeah, port show. I almost forgot. Yeah, I need to pick up a couple ports. Yeah,
there we go. So Dave picked up a couple. I have a few. I need to pick up one other. I want to pick up, and we can have our port show. But we gotta book those 2 shows. We gotta book that show.
Okay.
You and I, so I can open this black walnut liqueur, have some of it on its own, and then have some of it. Maybe I'll make an old fashioned or even a Manhattan. Maybe I'll get some Amaro involved in it too. It should be interesting.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, I had one cocktail with the black walnut liqueur and the Amaro. They made 2 Amaros at this distillery in Asheville as well. So we can mess around with that a little bit on that show, and then we got to book the port show too. But
neck of the woods is actually known for black walnuts.
Sure. I actually just ordered another 2 bottles of black walnut liqueur, and I actually ordered a black cherry liqueur. Black walnut bitters, and black cherry bitters too. I ordered to Fee Brothers. I ordered them.
Oh, I have cherry bitters, but I don't have the black cherry. Now I got to find a black cherry.
Black cherry bitters. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Got to get those. I have never had it either. I've had a couple of people tell me about it, so I ordered it. I ordered 2 bottles of I was ordering them anyway, so I ordered 2 bottles of the black walnut bitters, and I saw the black cherry. I'm like, I'm just gonna get it. So I got a bottle of it too. So I'll give you a full report on it.
All right, I'm ready. Yeah, we got to do another cocktail show.
Absolutely. All right, you ready for our top 3s?
Sure.
All right, let's do it. We were back and forth for a while, folks. Our top 3 list for tonight. And I got to tell you, I'm not going to lie, Dave was involved in the choosing of the topic for the top 3s tonight, because a few of the ones that we came up with, Dave wanted to be involved with that list.
Yeah.
So we had to find one that he was okay not being involved with. So we chose one. We chose this. We chose top 3 favorite flavored bourbons / whiskeys. Top 3 favorite flavored bourbons / whiskeys. So that's what we settled on, if you will. And I'm good to go, but I want to let Tom go first, of course.
Okay, so you and I have had this conversation. So I'm not a fan of flavored whiskeys, flavored bourbons. I am not a fan.
Right.
So I had to really think about it, because I asked you about a slight addendum to the name. But then as I started looking some stuff up and going back through my own notes and videos, I knew more than I thought I did. But
and that's how I was too. That's where I came. Like, this went back and forth with Dave, and he's like, "Well, I'm not Dave said the same thing. He's not a fan of flavored bourbons or flavored whiskeys." So he says, "Go ahead and do that one." I'm like,
"Go ahead and do that."
Oh, thanks, Dave. Right.
So I kind of stretched it out to try to stay as true to the 3, but I went right to the edge of the line without quite going over it. So I'm going to give you these 3, and in all honesty, they're not necessarily in 1, 2, 3 order. These are just the 3 that I would prefer at any given time.
Sure.
And the first one I'm going to talk about is from Old Dominic out of Memphis. They do this thing which is great during the winter time, called a Memphis Toddy. It does use 45% of their high rye bourbon, but then it is flavored with things you expect to get from a toddy. It gives you a little bit of ginger. You get a little bit of ginger notes, some honey. You might get a hint of white pepper. I mean, just some things that you would expect from a toddy. It is absolutely gorgeous, and because it does say Memphis Toddy, you kind of want to drink it a little warmer. Now, it's only at 60 proof, so I'm not going to advocate watering it down much. However, when I had this product, I put about a half ounce, not a lot, but about a half ounce of very hot water in it. And that really stimulated everything to really make it feel like a toddy.
Okay, nice.
But I'm just talking just a little bit, just about a half ounce of very hot water to it. But anyway, so that's one. And I'm going to give you another local of mine. Well, that isn't a local, but this is a local. This is Mooney's, and it says chocolate cherry flavored whiskey. It doesn't say bourbon. However, they only do two products: their bourbon and this. So I know that the base product for this is their bourbon. It is 80 proof, a chocolate cherry flavored. And again, I'm not a fan of necessarily flavored products, but this one is done so impeccably well. But you also know that I've used this in cocktails, so I don't always drink it on its own. I've used this product in other things.
Right, of course.
So, and then
I remember that one too.
And then, for the sake of this segment, I guess number one would be, again, I am taking some liberties here, but it's called Bear Claw from a local distillery here called Bub's Distillery, that's known for their moonshines.
Nice.
So they have these great flavored moonshines. Then they've got their Bub's. Their Bub's aged whiskey, which is basically their sugar shine aged on wood chips. So what the Bear Claw is that sugar shine aged on wood chips, and then they've added some cinnamon to. But the way it's layered and put together, it's called Bear Claw. It almost mimics a bear claw. You can almost feel those pastry notes, those cinnamon notes, those sugar notes, and those pecan notes because of the way it is aged on those oak chips. That oak will almost mimic or imitate those pecan-like flavors from a Bear Claw. It is my absolute favorite flavored whiskey of any kind.
There you go. Beautiful.
And it's not bourbon because it's a shine, but I don't know what other category I could really throw that into. So I took some liberties by tossing that one in.
Well, by the way, that's why we changed it to favorite flavored bourbons / whiskeys, right?
Yeah.
So, and two of my three are branded as whiskeys too. Only one of them is branded as a bourbon. So, anyway, beautiful. That sounds fantastic, and I'm gonna have to at some point. I'm gonna need to try those three, so we'll figure that out.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try to get a couple bottles and find a way to get them to your neck of the woods. We'll do some kind of trade or something.
Yeah, we got to work on something. We'll figure it out. But my three are my number three. I'll go through this again. I'm not a huge fan of flavored bourbons or whiskeys. I would like to, if I want flavor in my bourbon or whiskey, I want to make a cocktail, right? And I want to flavor it myself in the way I want to flavor it, right? With the black walnut bitters in my old fashioned and so forth and so on. We've talked about this, right? But of the ones I've had, and I've had a bunch of the ones I've had, my top three are as follows. Number three is going to be from Heritage Distilling, which I can't really speak too much of them, since the only thing I've had is this, right? It's a brown sugar bourbon. It's not super sweet, but it's sweet. But it's brown sugar, so of course it's gonna be sweet, right? So yeah, brown sugar bourbon. They make one. This one's about 60 something proof. They make one that's 103 proof. I've had both. I don't recommend the 103 proof. It's too hot. It's way too hot. If you buy a bottle if somehow you come across a bottle of the 103 proof, sit on it for years. It's way too hot. It needs to mellow. It's not. Just don't. But the brown, and I'm not speaking bad of it. It's not a bad drink by any means. It's just really hot. It's just really, there's too much alcohol in it. There's no need for this particular type of beverage, right? The lower ABV one, the 60 proof. That's the one to key on. If you do come up with a 103 proof one, either sit on it for a while or mix it, put it in a cocktail.
Yeah,
you got a cocktail for it. Anyway, the brown sugar bourbon, the lower ABV one, that's the one to go. That's my number three. Number two is from Cask and Crew, which has been out for 4 years now, 4 years now, ish, somewhere in there. Walnut toffee whiskey. They have a few. They have an orange ginger, which is all right. I enjoyed it, but it's not my top three. But the walnut toffee is very good. It's very good. It's got really nice beefy walnut notes. The toffee gives a nice sweetness to round everything out. It's not cloying at the end, but it's really tasty. It's a nice. These are all. And by the way, let me back up a little bit. These are all ones that I would like to have on their own. Just drink them on the rocks.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
That's what these are. That's where these come into play. Not to mix them into cocktails, because I wouldn't. I would make the same thing with regular bourbon, a better bourbon, and so forth and so on. Right. So, but anyway, walnut toffee whiskey from Cask and Crew. That's my number 2. My number 1, and I've only had it for maybe 2 or 3 times now, and only since this past October, November. Ballotin, Ballotin. And they make a bunch of different ones. They make a chocolate peanut butter. They make a couple of cream liqueurs, but their chocolate mint whiskey is phenomenal. It's really, 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 really well done. It's not super sweet. It's not super minty. It's not super chocolatey. It's the right blend. It's like you're drinking a thin mint bourbon.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Okay.
Really, really, really good. I could literally sit there. It's so good. And I don't look for this either. I'd rather have an old fashioned or a Manhattan, or just drink bourbon straight, or go to my Amaros. We've talked about this, right? But this is so decently done. I don't want to say well done. It's well done. It's so well done that I could take this and just pour it over rocks and sip on it all night long. It's really well done. So Ballotin chocolate mint whiskey. That's my number 1.
Very nice. I think I forgot to mention. I mentioned the proof on the toddy, but the chocolate cherry and the bear claw are both at 80 proof.
There you go. Yeah, anything. These are mid 60s to 80 are like all of these pretty much. And like I said, that the brown sugar bourbon, they do a version that's 103 proof. I don't know why. I really don't. I mean, I'm not putting them down by any means, but I don't know why. The regular one, obviously what they're going for is a flavored bourbon, right?
Yeah.
They hit the nail perfectly on the head with the lower ABV one. Why they would come up with 103 proof one, I really don't know. It's not better. It's you don't get a lot of the brown sugar out of it. You get a lot of alcohol heat out of it. If you're going to use it, you got to mix it. I don't know why it exists. Just concentrate on the lower one. Blend it and concentrate on the lower one. I don't get it, but
why wouldn't you do it at 80? Why you go from 60 to 100? I mean, yeah, you want to kick it up to what a standard bourbon is. Move it to about 80.
Right, exactly. That makes more sense. Well, what are you going to do? That's me. That's just me. So, all right. Well,
top 3. How about that?
Top three list tonight. All right. One thing I want to bring up before, I just want to say this really quick, and then we can wrap the show up. I read an article today, and it was about a local burger place. An online newspaper, if you will, an online media source, if you will, put out an article. They released an article, and they kind of flooded Facebook with it and everything else. But it was bashing this burger place. Now, this burger place is an institution. Okay. Mm-hmm. If you don't like it, you don't have to like it. No, not everybody has to like everything, right? But this burger place is an institution. They bashed this burger place based solely on a Yelp review. One Yelp review. Okay. So one person's opinion on Yelp wrote this article. Like, it wasn't even the guy, or person, whoever it was. It was this online magazine, right? Saying, oh, well, wait a minute. We've heard great things about this place for years, but this one Yelp reviewer says differently. So let's write an article on it. So my point is, I actually commented back. I was like, even Yelp reviewers put little stock into Yelp reviews. Yeah. Why would somebody do that? It makes no sense. So my point was, just in general, not specifically speaking of food or anything like that, or this place, Untapped, Beer Advocate.
You're going to get me wound up, I can tell.
Oh, yeah. Everybody has their own opinion. You don't have to like every beer. Nobody wants you to. You like what you like. That person likes what they like. That person likes what they like. You do you, right? As
Yeah.
the kids say these days, right? So, and that's fine. There's not a problem with that. If you don't like a specific beer, not a problem. But, when it comes to like this whole Yelp thing that I just brought up, when it comes to somebody putting up a review that goes on and on and on and on about how horrible this beer is and blah, 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 give your opinion and move on.
Yeah.
You're trying to like how much stock are you putting into what you feel that is that important to you to make everybody hate this product before they even taste it? I don't get it. That's so I'm putting that to you. What's your take on all of that?
So here's the thing. I've never been a fan of Beer Advocate or Untapped for a lot of reasons. And you've kind of touched a little bit there. A lot of it is because people tend to think, well, actually, I'm going to scratch that. People will seem to take more stock. If you write a negative review, it's going to tend to get looked at more than a positive one.
Right.
So people will see that. They're going to get more attention by saying something nasty than saying something nice. So you've got a whole group of people on Untapped and Beer Advocate that do nothing but say nasty shit about everybody. It was kind of a thing in beer reviews, even video reviews for a while, is you would have guys just go on there and just bash every beer they drank. And I got watching a lot of these guys, and I'm thinking, why are you a beer reviewer if you don't like any damn thing you drank? It just doesn't make any sense.
I love that. That's great.
But to their credit, they were getting views. People are viewing these videos because nasty sells.
Right.
And I'll tell you, in my case, I've done over 3,000 videos, and you would be hard-pressed to find 10 where I've said something bad about anybody.
Right.
Because I don't really think in those terms. And I've even been questioned about being the opposite of that, is, promoting things. And so, listen, I'm not getting kickbacks from any of these breweries. I'm drinking their beer. If it's good, I'm going to tell you about it. But I think if you give it a little effort, you can find something good to say about almost anything without being nasty.
Right.
The only times I've ever been really harsh about anything is if it was really just that bad. But I've looked at Beer Advocate, I've looked at Untapped, and I've seen some great beers. Great beers by almost, everybody's standards. And when somebody hits a beer that almost every one of us knows and wants to do nothing but say nasty, all they're trying to do is get some attention. That is all they're trying to do. I will never respond to these guys because that's what they want you to do.
Mm-hmm. No, I 100% agree, and I'll I'll confirm what you're saying based on this particular one story. There was a particular beer that everybody that was rating it like on Untapped. You go on Untapped, you get ratings from 0 to 5, right? 5's the highest, right? The majority of everybody was rating this particular beer anywhere from a 3.75 to a 4.5. There were a few higher. There were a couple lower. When I say lower, maybe even a 3.25 or a 3.5, but 90% of everybody was 3.75, 4, 4.25, or 4.5, right? In this particular beer. One guy rates it. One guy comes along, has it, rates it a 0.5. So 0.5. Gave it a super low rating, right? Horrible beer. It was an IPA. It was a New England IPA, if I recall. I just remember the story, so that's why I'm bringing it up. And it was, and he rated a 0.5. Everybody else rated this beer, like I said, from 3.75 up to 4.5. He rated it that. So just for, shiggles, if you will, as everybody says, right? I click on his profile and I go through his check-ins, and he's got, not a ton, but 1,000, around, give or take, 900, 1,200, somewhere in there. And he's got Allagash White rated at a 0.25.
Okay.
He's got, something else rated that low too. Blah, 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 blah. His highest rated beer was a 5. I will give you 3 guesses to tell me what his favorite rated beer was.
Budweiser.
Close.
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 Miller.
Miller High Life.
High Life, yeah.
Miller High Life, he rated a 5. This particular New England IPA that was getting 4s, 4 5s, he rated a 0.5. And he rated Allagash White a 0.25.
Well, so
that's fine. If that's your palate,
yeah, that's it. Yeah,
that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I really don't have if you dislike this New England IPA and you dislike Allagash White and all these other beers that you rated low, and your palate tells you that Miller High Life is a 5 for you, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing on Untapped? That's my question.
Well, that's and there you go. That hits the nail on the head. Why I hate these beer advocate Untapped is you got so many people offering themselves up as experts that are not.
Right. Exactly.
You got people saying, okay, this is a 10, this is a 1, or this is a 5, this is a 1. Well, with, they're over there drinking, High Life or MGD or Coors. This is their 5. This is a 1. It just doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. But there's nothing you can do about it, right? Because it's a free app. Everybody can download it, knock yourself out, have at it.
Well, you almost have to approach it like, you throw away the highest vote. You feel like an Olympic event, right? Throw away the highest score, throw away the lowest score, and judge everybody in the middle. Because that West German judge is going to give you the lowest score, right?
Right. Exactly. I love that. That's a great analogy.
And
I love that.
Myself with that particular analogy, but that was always the case, right? That West German judge is, if the American gets a 10, that West German judge is going to give him a 1.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Throw away the highest score. Throw away the lowest score. Everything else, that's where you got to focus on, right?
But that's my issue with those things. And I get a lot of folks. I have a lot of friends that are on Untapped, and they do it so they kind of keep track of what they drink. And I kind of get that. But the reason I don't do it, even for that reason, is just because I feel like I'm feeding the beast. I feel like I'm feeding mediocrity. I just feel that there's so much bad information on those apps that I don't want to take part in them.
Well, here's what I do. I'll tell you what I do. I'm on Untapped, but I'll tell you what I do. I don't rate beers. I don't put a rating on them. I put notes. That's all I do. It's for me. It's not for anybody else. It's for me. If there's anything bad that I don't like about if there's a beer I have that I don't like, I don't put any notes. So for me, I go back to like if I'm looking for a beer. Oh, I had this 6 years ago. I left no notes. I know I didn't like it.
That makes sense. Okay, I get that. Yeah.
I know I didn't like it, but I didn't tell everybody I didn't like it. I didn't like it, so there's no notes there. So anywhere there is notes, I'll have the notes. Blah 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 blah. These are the flavors I'm getting. Blah 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 blah. So that I'll maybe I have it again, maybe I don't. Depends on what else is available on tap. If I'm at that bar, there's a few things that I have straight away. If any bar, we've talked about this before. Any bar, if I walk into a bar and they have 50 taps and they have either Weihenstephan or Hefeweizen, or they have Aventinus Tap 6, I know what my first 2 beers are. It's those 2.
Yeah.
And there you go. And we'll go from there. But yeah, the Untapped is for me. Untapped it's not for anybody. I don't rate beers. If I don't like the beer, I don't put notes. If I like the beer, I put notes. That's it. Nobody knows what I'm doing. It's there. There you go. That's it.
You just have you have a certain percentage of people that just want to be mean for the sake of being mean. And those outlets allow people to do that and get their voice out there.
Right. Exactly.
And nasty seems to get attention.
Nasty gets attention.
Especially if deep in their mind and their heart, they know it's a great beer and they give it a 1, they know they're going to get a lot of attention and they're looking for that attention.
Right. Exactly. You're and Untapped, or beer advocate for that matter, but specifically on Untapped, you're only and generally in the industry, basically, you're only as good as your worst beer.
Well, that's kind of the truth, isn't it? Yeah.
You could brew 300 delicious beers. You brew one that's meh, you're meh. Yeah, you're eh.
No, they're okay.
They brewed that one beer that one time that was horrible. That's it. That's all. You're as good as your worst beer.
Yep,
So,
yep, that's exactly right.
So when if it's warranted, that's one thing. But if it's manufactured via people looking to get notoriety on Untapped, that's quite another thing, and it sucks. That's my point.
Yeah. And you can't ignore that there are those people out there that are doing that just for that reason.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what it is. So, all right. Good conversation. Good. I like this.
We didn't drink whiskey tonight.
We didn't even have any whiskey.
No, how about that? It's the first time we haven't had whiskey.
It's the first time I think I've been on any show with you, and there's been and we're in the dozens now at this point as far as shows you and I have been on that we hadn't had one drop of whiskey. So there's a first for everything, right? So, but great. Look, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight and for filling in for Dave, who, by the way, just so everybody knows, he didn't bail on a show by any means tonight. His daughter lives in Florida. Dave lives in New Jersey. His daughter is up visiting, and she wanted to go to a Rangers game tonight.
Oh, yeah.
A New York Rangers game tonight. So Beer Samurai took his daughter to a New York Rangers game tonight. And he did want me to mention that the best beer that he could get where he was a I won't say what it is because we just talked about the fact that we don't want to downplay beers. I will tell the Beer Whisperer offline. But the beer he had was while he ordered it, so obviously it was drinkable, right? He obviously for him he wanted it, right? It was, let's put it this way: there could be better beer there, right?
Okay.
There you go. But anyway, so he's there enjoying the Rangers game with his daughter, and he'll be back next week. And we have to put those other two shows together. Tom, you and I will talk when we're done. Maybe scheduling the shows, the you and I show with the black walnut liqueur and the black cherry bitters. Maybe you get one. Maybe we make a couple of cocktails with the black cherry bitters in the interim, and we can have that show, you and I, and then we got to schedule the port show with Dave too.
Okay,
we'll put that together. But again, I want to thank you for coming on and filling in for Dave. This was awesome.
Thanks for asking. I appreciate it.
I'm glad you came on. This was a great show. I'm glad we did it, and we'll wrap the show up for today on that note. We want to thank everybody for watching, and for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.lagerroom.com. That's LAGERROOM.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course, our YouTube channel. All of them are at The Lager Room. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on both Facebook and YouTube every Tuesday night around 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And for those of you who just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcasts, and iHeartRadio as well. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you will never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend. Drink a lot of beer, but drink responsibly. And we will talk to you soon, folks. Take care. Cheers.